When I think about guitar heroes, there's one player above almost everyone else that comes to mind for me, and that is Eric Clapton. Few people have had such a huge impact on the musical world for as long as Eric Clapton. I mean, you look at all of the different sort of eras in his career that he's been through, starting off with the Yardbirds, and then John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, and then Cream, and then his solo career. And in fact, my earliest memories that I have of music are Eric Clapton. My parents had the unplugged cassette in our car that we would listen to every time we were driving. And I remember being 2 years old, 3 years old, and hearing those sounds. It's actually probably a big reason why I gravitated towards guitar in the first place. So Eric Clapton holds a very special place in my heart. And as a guitar player, he's had a massive impact on me over the years, not just in his own playing, but finding other musicians and other styles sort of adjacent to Eric Clapton. And last year, my dad and I got to go to Crossroads Guitar Festival in Dallas, Texas, and that was an amazing experience, to say the least. But there's one element of Clapton lore that I find really fascinating, and that is the woman tone. It's something that I've heard and listened to for years, and I've heard other guitar players talk about. I've read articles about it, but it's not something that I've ever tried to tackle myself. So in today's video, we're going to try and find out, what is the woman tone?
The electronic guitar is also dismissed as nothing but a jangling noise machine, incapable of subtlety or delicacy. Lead guitarist Eric Clapton has built his reputation as a blues player on just these qualities, subtlety and delicacy.
And you get it very, very thin, like this. It's what you play when you've done that makes a difference, you know, because you can play...
What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, just the amount of pressure you put on with the flat pick, you know, because you can hit the strings very hard or hit them very soft, you know, or just touch them at any volume.
So if time travel was a thing and I could go to any period in history and experience life there, I would choose London from the years of 1965 to 1968, because it seemed like the things that were happening there were unreal for music at the time. Now, it was during this time, 1966, around London, that Eric Clapton, Jack Bruce, and Ginger Baker would come together to form the band Cream. Each one of these musicians was successful and well-known in their own right, particularly Clapton after his time spent in the Yardbirds and John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. It seemed that every guitar player around London at the time wanted to be Clapton, and there's famous photos of graffiti around London that state Clapton is God, which I would actually have to agree with. Now, the band formed when Clapton and Ginger Baker came together and started talking about putting a group together, and Clapton said he would do it on the condition that they got bassist Jack Bruce to join the band. And this was interesting because Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker had had a somewhat tumultuous working relationship before that. They had played together previously in other groups, and we'll just say that they weren't the most compatible people on stage and off. I believe a knife was pulled and they would sabotage each other's instruments. But the two decided to set their differences aside and formed what would become one of the most iconic and most important blues psychedelic rock bands of all time. One of my favorite bands of all time. And it was when Cream got into the studio and started making records that we first got a glimpse of the woman tone.
Another characteristic of your particular playing is a kind of whining noise, usually described as woman tone.
Yeah, let me turn this thing off.
Can you tell us what that is?
The woman tone is produced by using either the bass pickup or the lead pickup, but with all the bass off. And in fact, if you use both pickups, you should take all the bass off on the tone control. That is to put to turn it down to 1 or 0, you know, on the tone control, and then turn the volume full up, you know, and it's supposed to sound like this.
So if you look at Eric's description of woman tone in that BBC documentary, you might think that it's really simple. Neck pickup, volume all the way up, tone all the way down. But I actually think there's more going on here than just that setting. There's a few key elements in the signal chain that I think you have to really pull off woman tone like you hear on those Cream records. First and foremost, the guitar. Now, I'm playing a Les Paul, and as you saw in that video, Eric was playing his full SG. Now, he was known for using that SG during the Cream years quite a bit, but from the research that I did, a lot of those Cream records were actually recorded with his Les Paul. Now, the body type doesn't matter as much in this situation as the pickup and control layout does. I think you need a double humbucker guitar with independent volume and tone controls for each pickup to really nail this sound. Now, the next key element is the amplifier, obviously. So here I've got a 100-watt Marshall Plexi. This is a reissue, the 1959X hand-wired version. I'm borrowing this one for this video because I don't own a Marshall yet. But this is a key element of the tone. Now at the time, he probably would have been playing 50-watt Plexis, 100-watt Plexis. I think in that video, he's probably playing a 50-watt. But regardless, the Plexi sound, the cranked Plexi sound is crucial to nailing this tone, I think. So I've got my Les Paul going straight into the front of this Plexi here, and I talked to a few friends of mine that know these amps really, really well, and these are the settings that I came up with, sort of your classic cranked Plexi jumped channel setting. I got both channels jumped here, and this is what the amp sounds like with a normal setting on the bridge pickup. Classic Marshall tones. Now from the amp, I'm going into the aux because this is a 100-watt Marshall, and with these settings, you couldn't be in the same county as this amp. I mean, it'll literally peel paint off the wall. So in the aux, I dialed up a setting that I think is pretty close to Clapton's setup that he was using at the time, a 412 with 25-watt greenbacks in it, and some mics that I thought really fit the sound here. Now, if you watch that documentary and you do what Eric says, bass pickup, volume all the way up, tone all the way down, this is what you get. Now, that sort of sounds like woman tone, but it's not quite right to me. That is very, very muddy. It's very rounded off. There's a lot of low mid happening, and you don't get a lot of articulation. And if you listen to those Cream records, if you listen to I Feel Free, if you listen to Sunshine of Your Love, or Spoonful, I think is a great example of this, it's round and warm, but it's also articulate. There's more happening there than just the neck tone rolled all the way off. So I did some experimentation, and I think I came up with 3 different options that I believe Eric used during these recordings, during these sessions. So option 1 is what we just played. Neck pickup, tone rolled all the way off. And while I don't think it's the exact tone, I think it will get you in that woman tone territory. But option 2, I think, is a lot closer. For this, we're going to go to our middle position, so both humbuckers, and I'm going to leave the bridge tone all the way up on 10, and I'm going to dial in the bridge volume into about 6 or 7, and that gives me this. Now you can hear some of that articulation starts to come back. You're getting a little bit more pick attack, a little bit more upper mid-range focus, and I think this is the woman tone. I think this is where Clapton would have spent most of his time, dialing in the bridge volume to taste, because it does have an effect. The more bridge volume you bring in, or the less it shifts sort of the mid-range focus of the tone. So here's what I mean. This is with the bridge volume all the way up. And then option 3 is something that Eric mentioned in that BBC documentary, which is bridge position, volume all the way up, tone all the way down. Now, I think this is actually a little bit closer to the woman tone we hear on those Cream records than the neck pickup, but I don't think it's still quite right. There's a weird mid-range sort of half-cocked wah thing happening that I don't really hear on the records. To me, the best example of woman tone is Spoonful. If you listen to the solo section on Spoonful, that really is the sound, in my opinion. Okay, so what if you're going for the woman tone, but you don't have a Les Paul and a 100-watt plexi and an aux to really pull off the sound? What if you got something like a Strat? Well, we can still do the woman tone thing with just about any guitar. It's going to take some experimentation and some work on your end, but there's a few things to look out for. Now for this, I've got an American Pro 2 Stratocaster going into my Helix, and I'm actually using one of my presets, one of my amp presets that is a 100-watt plexi preset. Those are available down below. Shameless plug. And while it's not exactly the same as the Les Paul and the real amp on the aux, I think it's in the ballpark. So, middle position with the tone rolled all the way off, I think is pretty close, but it is still lacking a little bit of that top end. Now again, the things you want to look out for are not getting too muddy. So if you listen, if I roll the tone up just a little bit on this middle position, it's bringing back a little bit of that top end bite that a Strat is known for. Now, the amount of tone that you roll back is going to depend on your guitar, your pickups, the type of pots that you have, the resistance of the pots you have, and the type of amp or modeler or pedal that you might be running into. It's going to take some experimentation. You're going to have to listen and compare. But the key component with all the woman tone sounds are the balance between the warm, round, sort of vocal mid-range that Clapton got, while still maintaining the articulation and the bite so that you can actually cut through and stand out in a mix. Now, this particular Strat has a unique feature where if you go to the bridge position and you pop up this tone knob, you get the bridge and the neck together, and that is an interesting combination as well. Now that definitely has more of that sort of half-cocked wah kind of sound, but I think it works. I think it's cool. It's up to you though to experiment and find the right sound for your rig and your guitar and your hands. So that is the woman tone, one of my all-time favorite guitar sounds. If you enjoyed today's video, let me know by leaving a like and a comment down below. Also, you can pre-order my brand new video course, the Complete Nashville Number System course. It'll be available this coming week. You'll see the pre-order link down in the description box below. There you can also find links to all the gear that I used in today's video. Some of that gear is through affiliate links, so if you buy something through one of those links, I will earn a small commission, which really helps me out in running this YouTube channel, so thank you. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Rhett Shull, and subscribe here to this YouTube channel and ring the bell so you can be notified whenever I'm posting new videos and going live each week. Also, this is a series, the What is the Sound series. You can check out that playlist down below or at the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Rhett Shull. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and remember, there is no plan B.